I'm making one video for every day in July. This is the 17th video, which I'm recording back to back with the 16th video because they both involve music. The previous video was about me starting a band and exhorting you to join it, and you should. And this one is about a different angle on enjoying music. So before I get into that, I would just like to highlight books, reading. There are audiobooks and then there are paper books that you can read. These are different ways of experiencing the same story. They have different affordances, they hit you differently, they command your attention differently, they allow it to wander differently or not, just depending. They're different experiences. It's not about whether or not one is better or worse. They're just different, and most people know why without me having to get into it. The same dividing line exists with music, especially large orchestral pieces, classical music, operas, musicals. You can buy the score to those, and you can read along with the music as you listen to it, which is a gratifying and profoundly different way of engaging with the music than just listening to it. And you can start to flesh that out by reference to an audiobook and a paper book. Now, most people don't read a paper book and then also have the audiobook in their ears, although I've done that, and it's great depending on what you're going for. But if you say, I'm just going to use my own for example, because I do have a giant stack of scores to operas and symphonies and that sort of thing, and I sit in my apartment, I read it, I flip along and as I listen. But it's a very different way of engaging with music. If you know how to read music, but you can't play it at a very high level, you can still get the great profound enjoyment of reading along to other people perform at a very high level. So the score that I have in my hand is to Beethoven's 8th and 9th symphonies, but the 9th symphony has the song Ode to Joy that a lot of people know. And I'm just going to play this off of a laptop. It's not going to be a fancy speaker, but if you don't know Ode to Joy, yes, you do. Maybe you just don't know that that's the title, but here's a few seconds of Ode to Joy. So that's Ode to Joy. And you could just be listening to all, and of course it builds and swells into a wonderful, much larger sound than this. So you could just listen to it. You could also, this is what you just listened to. You could read along too. And it's a very different way of understanding music. It also makes you remember the music more because you're engaged with the actual discrete pieces of the music, every note following along, instead of just hearing it. And I think the same thing happens with audiobooks versus paper books. With paper books, you do tend to be locked on more to the actual words that are being used, the sentence construction. You do tend to remember it more, I think most people. Whereas with audiobooks, you can be listening while you're walking or doing something else, and you tend to zone in, zone out. Not that this can't happen with paper books. I just think it happens much more by default with audiobooks. But the same is true of music. And so if you actually have the printed music in front of you, it's easier to sink into the depth and the complexity and everything that's there. And just if you know people who seem to know the name of every classical music piece, I'm using classical music here in a colloquial, very broad sense of like just any orchestral music, including older things. But if you know people who seem to just be able to hear a piece, even a random middle part that's not famous, a famous line, and they know what the title is, one of the reasons why they likely do, I mean, maybe they were a music student or something, but they have deeper familiarity with the music. They have probably played it. They've probably experienced it from the written and the read angle, not just the oral angle. So anyway, I think a thing you could do that is very enjoyable is you should get the printed version of music that you like and just follow along with it. So that's this video.